Hello, Gems! Welcome to another episode of Tiaras and Tech. I'm your host, Shelley Benhoff, and today I'm talking to Ishraq Al Fataftah about being a tech entrepreneur. She is a Sitecore Technology MVP and the CTO at ApplezTech. We talked about the importance of believing in yourself, her struggles in starting her own company, and some really good advice on how to approach leadership. Without further ado, on to the episode. Hi, Ishraq. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Shelley. I'm really glad I'm finally on your show. So it's a pleasure to always talk to you and share things. So thank you for having me.
Oh my God, absolutely. I actually wanted to start by telling you the story of when you walked up to me at Sitecore Symposium 2019 and you introduced yourself to me. Not only did I want to cry, I want to cry thinking about it, but I had watched you for years. Oh my God. And I never ever imagined that I would talk to you or that you would, think I was on your level at any nobody.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're so sweet.
It was so inspirational. And that was the moment because, you walked up to me and I was swarmed by 20 people at the time, trying to promote my courses and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was the moment I knew. I was like, this is a success. Yep.
No, it's very uplifting, all the nice things you've just seen, and I'm really happy that I've actually made a difference that makes you even look at me this way. It warms my heart, every single word you just said. But
I'm so
again,
glad.
I was really happy, and you have no idea, every time we go through these events, when we meet people and people talk to you from that angle and say I'm happy that we finally see you in person and stuff like that. I was like, I would love to talk with each one of you and share stuff and talk everything, Sitecore and non-Sitecore. And I think the nice thing about the community, about this global, I call it phenomena because you don't see this much often with bigger and other communities, is that we respect each other, we're passionate about what we're doing, and we're not shy about showing that. And that's a key because I've used to be a shy person. Until now, yeah. So I scramble sometimes when I wanted to introduce myself, but if the person you're talking to you is actually warming up to you and they're nice and easy to talk, that's where I find myself is I'm really excited to talk to them. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I made a lot of friends that symposium that were just have inspired me and mentored me and just, cheered me on to keep doing what I was doing. And it changed my life, honestly. Really did. Anyway, let's get back to you and your story. How did you start in tech?
Gosh, it's a funny story because in my mind, I never thought that I'm gonna go into tech. My dad was the one who pushed me for that. I grew up in a house where he's a financial manager, so you would think about them like they dealing with numbers and accountants and back at the time, but he actually brought us computers early on. I had the Windows 95 and then the 98. We grew up around these things, and even the version before that, in the Middle East, we used to have a different version of a computer. It's called in Arabic sakhar. I'm not sure what's the counterpart in computer stuff. And the most thing we would use paint. And that was, I think, when I was maybe 8-10 years old. So we grew up like that. I grew up playing FIFA back at the time. And some of the games, that used to be there. So I love gaming a lot. But then when it came the time where what kind of direction I want to go at college, and it was like, I want to be like you. I want to study accounting and economics. And he was like, no, there's another opportunity. There's another stuff out there where you can find yourself besides being cornered within what he thought at the time within accounting and stuff. And I started with the computer information system. It was a brand new major. We had like computer information system, we have a computer science. So computer science, you go focus on everything tech. Computer information system, we had a mix between business and IT. And then it actually clicked. At the time, and I kid you not, most of my highest grades would be in economics. Even like accounting, economics, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, C++, this kind of stuff I was not good at. But then when I graduated and started to work, I found myself within the problem solving, kind of logical thinking. It's not even that, like the logic, being able to connect things out. And once I've been in situations where I had to use that, I had to logically think and connect things together. I was like, yeah, it seems like that's my passion. And here we go.
That's amazing. I think the most useful class I took in college was logic.
Logic, yeah.
It wasn't a tech class. I think it was like an English, type class. And I thought, hey, this might help me code. Oh my God. Like that was more useful than calculus because it's math. I am not good at math, even though I got straight A's and stuff. So like maybe I am, but like if I have a textbook off the top of my head, I don't really know, but math is kind of the same logical concepts that are used, in programming. But what we do doesn't really require math in our programs for web stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember where I was going with that, but something else you said that has been such a trend in almost every guest I've had, including myself, like our fathers really, we're like, this is what you should do. Like, I've told the story about how I was in like high school and my dad was all excited. I had this new Windows 95 HP desktop back when desktops were flat and you put the monitor on top of it. Oh my God, what were we thinking? Our poor necks and eyes back then. But he, for some reason, like wanted to install RAM. And so he cracked it open. I just took one look at it and I was like, stick, slot, done, And I remember he looked at me and was just like, this is what you should do. Really? Yeah. So thanks to our dads, I guess. Yeah. My father is also an accountant. Yeah. So we come from similar backgrounds. And I did not know that you played games either. That's amazing.
I'm a gamer,
What do you play?
I am more of a Switch player. I don't do online stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I am not good at it. I leave that to my brother. But my favorite is LA Noire. So that's similar to Grand Theft Auto and this kind of stuff. So I grew up playing Grand Theft Auto. Used to be my my number one game. That's why I like the Switch counterpart of that, and Call of Duty and Battlefield.
Yeah, hardcore like FPS and a little bit like action adventure RPG, I guess is GTA. I play RPGs almost religiously. Yeah, I love a good Japanese RPG, especially like they're
next level.
They really are. And like the stories are immersive and I really, need that escapism to take myself out of all my stresses and stuff like that. That's so funny. But you are a entrepreneur as well. you have started a agency, I guess, right? Yeah. How do you pronounce this? Is it ApplezTech?
Yeah.
ApplezTech.
ApplezTech. Yeah.
ApplezTech. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yes, the L is before the E. I just really
Yeah.
like apples. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I pronounce it. Tell us how you started. Like how did I can't even fathom starting an agency. Like I've just realized lately what my company is media production.
Yeah.
Now, like I don't, that's pretty I'm a content creator. I hate that word, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, oh my gosh, it brings back memories because it's definitely not an easy journey or overtaken. I remember before I opened that, and everyone around was like, it's easy to open a company, it's easy to start something new. I was like, no, it's not.
That's not.
It, it's a myth. And the funny thing is, when I started that, I actually just paid all my loans, and all my savings and stuff went to moving into a new house with my family, and I started with like nothing. I had nothing, and just going through the process of registering a new company. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. Just like the bureaucracy of doing that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about 5 years ago, and here in the region, we did not have everything systemized. So we don't have an e-government or any form of e-business. It's still a nightmare till now, but it's easier than before. So you have to go to do everything yourself. You have to understand new uh, legal things. You have to understand from an economic perspective how you're going to do that. And then it started by myself, then with my business partner, and then we started to grow. And then at a certain point, you realize like I have a responsibility for other people and their families. It's no longer about me. It's no longer about one or two. It's an actually a team. And that's when it hits you like, um, okay, how am I going to employ all my experiences, all my connections, even my vision, even the way I think? How am I going to reflect the culture I want to create, the values I want to still be truth to? Because I still have my own truth, and I want to make sure like my personal beliefs and uh, the everything that I do value about myself is also reflected in my company and the culture of the people that I bring on, and building something in coaching and mentoring. It's not something easy. And what makes it hard sometimes is that the way you jump into that direction, especially because for me, it was not planned. It took a little while before I realized that I have that capabilities. The sad thing about that, I never thought about that. But my family and friends, when I was started to think that I am no longer able to grow where I am, I'm no longer aligned on the vision, on the direction, and at certain points, even on the values. Um, and I'm started to think about joining another company or a client or whatever. And they was like, why don't you do it yourself? They have more belief in me than I was. And they would like come back to me as like, you have the education, you have the experience, you have the passion. And for me, I even studied business on my own. So all of my studies, so I have two master degrees, by the way, but
Mm.
they focus on technology. So technology, and then it's like politics and entrepreneurship and social sociology. So it's
Wow.
not something different, yeah. And then business. I studied business. I used to read a lot. I say that because now I don't consider myself reading like before, but like I would read books, I would post on Goodreads, I would write like reviews. I have to like to read shelves. I have like that the this is my library behind me. This is a part of what I have. So nothing puts you, even with all of that, when you actually take that first step, when you do that leap of faith and say like, I'm gonna do it, nothing puts you or train you or So like you can do that. So it was a tricky part for me at the beginning, um, to even think about what direction I want to have, because I have an experience in a lot of things, but where can I find myself? What direction? So that's a question that, if you want to start a business, you need, like for me, I always look at, oh my God, I think a lot, by the way. I started to minimize that. I have much more self control in it now. But I would think 10 years from now. I used to think, and one reason, by the way, why I even took masters, because I was thinking when I retire, I want to be teaching at university. I want to take my PhD. That's what my retirement plan. So I was even thinking about retirement while I'm doing things now. Um, but yeah, when I did that, if you don't have the grit, if you do not have the self belief in yourself, it's a very, very hard journey. Um, but you make it easy by believing in the vision you're trying to do, by trying to do the things that you do enjoy, because it's your opportunity now, right? You no longer have that kind of an excuse. I'm working for an ex company, their values are different than mine. Now you have that opportunity to put yourself out there. So now you have to practice what you've been preaching, right?
Yep.
You want to make sure that, okay, if I've been one of the reasons why I've moved because I had one, two, three, four, I need to make sure when I start my own business, it has to be like the number one. I'm doing it from day one. Same thing with building a culture. Same thing with being true to my clients, to my connections. And I relied a lot on connections. So yeah, I think I've talked a lot and I forget even my train.
No worries at all. It's a podcast. It's,
Yeah,
like just stream of consciousness. I always tell people the only person you have to convince is yourself. You
true.
know, that's where it starts. Because you need to have that confidence that, you can actually do this. I'm saying that as last like Thursday and Friday, I was like, it was hard for me to get out of bed. I was thinking, who
Yeah.
who do I think I am? Like, why
Yeah.
am I doing this? You know? And then it's like somebody contacts you and says, I really like your work. And that's what,
Yeah.
pulls me out of that. So that's really, really interesting to hear the process of starting a company in Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Is that where you started it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually sounds really similar to what I went through. It was a lot of paperwork, a lot of confusion, a lot of like, what
Of
is this
learning.
legally?
Yeah.
Um, I uh, I am not running my business at all as my business plan was written. Like, I I don't consult. I don't, like have a shop, I'm like not
Yeah.
running Sitecore projects and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, it just kind of uh this year actually is when we realized what we were, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah. So sometimes you just have to start and like it'll change and evolve. And sometimes you can't even think like ahead, like what's gonna happen. That was the hard part for me, was taking that leap from a quote stable job to
Yeah.
not so stable. Like, I earn quarterly actually is when I'm paid. And
Yeah.
so it was kind of hard to navigate what are those first 3 months going to be like, where I don't get any money
Yeah.
and then I'll get, a lot and then none. And then, so I had to completely change like how I paid bills,
Yeah.
how I looked at my personal expenses and stuff. So yeah, it's
Cash flow. Cash flow.
cash
Cash flow.
flow. Cash flow is really important. I always tell people what I had when I moved to quote full time. I still
Yeah.
like the maximum. I work is probably 6 hours. It's very taxing to, have a camera in your face all day and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, um, I don't know where I was going with that. I don't remember. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about your experience in more of a technical role and then moving to leadership. And that's also exactly what I've done in the
Yeah.
past at Sitecore, actually. And I would just like your thoughts on how that went for you.
That was an interesting journey because when I started, I was the total definition of an introverted geek. It's like I would, I recall at my first job, I'd be at the office at 8 o'clock, and at certain points, people would take pictures of me and send me. It's like, can you imagine you're in this position from the beginning of the day till the end? That was my life. Just come, do my 8 hours, go back home. I did not interact with people much unless it's something company forced. And I lived within box for too long. And that was my word. And I would be talking even to myself. So I'm that kind of a person. And then as you move at a certain point, my transition to leadership was not something you planned. It was not an easy thing. I used to work in a company where they did not have any hierarchy. So it's developers and then founder and management. They had
Mhm.
that kind of a flat structure. So you won't be interacting with a lead. You won't be interacting with a tech person who would teach you actually how to handle um, conflicts, how to handle the day-to-day job that you require as you grow into a team lead and then maybe a director or whatever like position is named. So for me, it was a jump from a developer into a technical director.
Oh my goodness. That's quite the jump.
It is. It is. And the hard part about that, I was because again, books is my escape. So I was like frantically like trying to find books that would talk about management from a technical perspective. And at the time, there was not much. And
Yeah.
I think I've bought everything out there on Amazon. And later on, I even started a blog because I was blogging at the beginning really uh, much. Is like a day and then a day in the life of a technical director, something like that.
Oh, that sounds
And my
cool.
first, yeah, and the first post was all the books that you need to read,
Yeah.
everything I found that would help me understand the human nature. So the hard part for me is like it has to be something new. I come from a complete geek kind of a personality, and now suddenly I have to talk to people, understand their emotion, try to distinguish between this is personal, this is a job, this is what they have to do, this is what they need to do for themselves. I even studied psychology for 2 years.
Oh, wow. That's a
There's
really good thing to study. Mhm.
Yeah, I did that because at that point I was like, I can't deal with the human beings. I need something to help me with that.
A
And that
manual.
was exactly.
Yeah.
But then like now I've and I keep joking to a friend of mine. I was like, do you know like 8, 9 years ago I did not talk and now I talk nonstop? It's like that's me now. So it was not like a conventional kind of a move. I had to work a lot on myself. I had to work a lot on myself technically from a business perspective, and then um, from a responsibility perspective, because now you are responsible between what you owe your company to do, because at the end of the day that's a business that needs to run and bring money, and what you own and owe your team, their growth, listen to them, guide them, coach them in that. And that was a very very hard thing to balance. Eventually I hope I was able to do to do that. But yeah, it has been a hard thing. And now, after I moved into my own business and stuff, uh, I hope I'm more experienced. I think I have that sort of like understanding from where I was 9, 10 years ago and where I am now. And hopefully, the definition of leadership has been shifted from uh, just thinking about myself and my own growth to think about my growth is actually part of my team's growth. If they're not growing, if I'm not allowing them to find themselves, find their voice and speak out, I'm not going to be able by myself to do all of that. I am a human being, so I have my own limitations. I try always to push myself to the limits, but there's a level where, like, I can't do this. I have to delegate. I have to have trust with my team. And I have to, like, sometimes blindly, to if someone comes and tell me this and allow them to make decisions. And that was hard to let go making decisions and be the one who's just responsible about everything. And then, okay, it's fine to give some of these responsibilities to someone else and allow them to grow into that thing. Where I recall when I was in that position in their shoes, all I needed was like a little bit of trust and faith to believe that when I make a decision, I know what I'm doing. And this is what I'm trying to also pass over.
Yeah, absolutely. That is perfect. I teach leadership, and one of the things I talk about a lot is trust. You and you also want to hire people who are smarter than you.
Yeah.
That is a quote from Steve Jobs, like, whether you liked him or not, like he was a good businessman,
Yeah.
and a good leader. I don't know about that, but he, had a lot of lessons that I have, used in
Yeah.
my style. But yeah, and I know that you are the like CTO, right?
Yeah.
At yeah, App
ApplezTech.
ApplezTech. ApplezTech. Okay.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say apples. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's fine.
I think that is amazing. There are not many female CTOs in the industry. And I was actually wondering, like, what does your schedule look like? It must be crazy. How do you stay organized?
Yeah. That's a hard thing because before COVID, um I used to work on remote, right? Because all of my clients are in the US and in the UK. And my team, we have an office and we have the flexibility to work from wherever you are. I don't care as long as you're doing the job, that's fine. And I was very good at drawing a line between my personal and my business stuff. After COVID, I have been in situations where literally I won't leave my room the whole day. I did not see the outside of the
Yeah.
house until Saturday came in because it is very easy for all of these boundaries just to go away, especially if one you're running your own business because you always want to say like I can do more, I can do better. So sometimes you do not care about yourself in this kind of stuff. And when people started to realize like they can't do everything in person. Now they have to rely people that I would never chat to them more than once a day over Slack or over Teams. I have more than 3, 4 meetings with them.
Yeah.
And that was, imagine like multiplying that with all the clients you have, because at a certain point you would have to have a touch points with them. On top of that, you need to run your meetings now even more and more online because you want to have your one-on-one meetings with your team. You want to have your daily setup to even talk to them, listen to them, share updates, and all of these kind of stuff. So my day, if I am not consciously organized and I'm only organized inside my head, outside I'm not organized. So it becomes very chaotic. It's not easy to manage all of these accounts unless like um, you prioritize and you know exactly what you have to do on a daily basis. So that's what I'm trying to do. Like at the beginning of the day, I look at my calendar, I see all of the whatever meetings I have all my plan for the day, and whatever that comes to mind, I write down. I'm still traditional in that sense, although I have everything you can imagine. I have, yeah, smartphones, laptops, apps, Teams, Slack, any tools. I think one day actually posted on LinkedIn, like asking, how do you organize all of these different stuff? I was like, oh my God, I use all of that. And at the end of the day, I go back to my notepad and write
Yeah.
because that's my comfort. So I try to be organized just like by prioritizing what has the most important thing. Sometimes I switch between because they always tell you start with the hardest thing at the beginning. Sometimes you can do that all the time. I select the quick wins just to feel happy about myself. Like these are things I can do quickly. I can just grab out and do that. But what I try to do is I have clients between early in my day and at the end of my day because I work different time zones. And when I have clients in our regions, that means they work with me at the same time. I try to always work the EST time, like my US clients, early in the day. So by the time they come in, it's just like just doing meetings and have everything is done and unblocked for them. So it can be easy for them to make decisions or whatever. And towards the end of my days, prioritizing and working on my UK clients or my Dubai clients because it means like first time I wake up, I have to get things done or I have to align with them. So I don't like to have lots of dependency on how their day goes because for them it's a job needs to be done. For me, I have a lot of other things that I need to do. So my organization is just like vary between working different time zones, prioritizing, and most importantly, addressing everything that's related to the team at the beginning. Because I don't want anyone to start their day and just like being anxious or thinking all their day until they communicate or until I make myself available to them. So just try to address that at the beginning of the day, start with the scrum with the team, listen to them. If there's any one-on-one meetings with them at the early thing in the day, talking, training, or anything, that's the first thing done. And then just like prioritize based on time zones.
Yeah, I've also worked with people from all kinds of time zones. I actually managed a team in London, so I would
Yeah.
travel there like every 6 weeks. Oh, I miss that. I love
Yeah.
London. London is like so great. Yeah, but I think that it is hard for us to stay organized when you have so much responsibility over,
Yeah.
like helping the company earn money, honestly, is the, main kind of priority through driving the vision of how technology is, applied in your projects and stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
changing all the time. It's very hard for you yourself to stay relevant nowadays with all
Yeah.
of that. And in your position, the expectation, if you're giving a consultation to clients, or if you're, as you just said, like having a vision, it means you have to be current, you have to be up to date. Or if you're not able to do that, you need to make your team up to date so they
Right.
can help you move forward. So it's not an easy thing to do, but I think it's doable just because um, everyone is going through the same thing you're doing. The competitive advantage nowadays is just defined by how soon you're gonna hit that mark before the others. And this is what I've been seeing like really much recently because I maintain like a notebook just for ideas and products and any crazy idea I have. And every time I look back into that, just because I did not work on it quick enough, everyone else now is doing the same. And I go back and it's like, but I never had that time to do it. But I know like I have the experience and vision to be able to compete with them. But it's just like about prioritizing and time management. So at certain points, I had to let go about just feeling bad about missed opportunities or feeling bad that I could have been the one who's done that, because like you can't do everything, and at certain points priorities come. um, and I like what something that I learned from Sitecore is everything about context, and I try everything within context. At that moment of time, at that place, at that minute, I did not have the resources, I didn't have the whatever like challenge I had at the time prevented me from doing it. So I don't feel bad for missed opportunities anymore, because I know at that time that was the right thing to do. That was the right decision to go with.
That's so smart. Yeah. I've had a number of missed opportunities over the years as I grew my company, and I was always really hard on myself about that. Like,
Yeah.
I could have landed that client if I let my sister handle sales because that's what I hired her for,
Yeah.
but I'm also really bad at delegating. Like just recently I realized, I could churn out a lot more content if we hired another producer.
Yeah.
And we talked about it for like 6 months, probably,
Yeah.
before we actually did it. And so I'm going to have a lot of content coming out soon, folks.
Yeah.
So get ready. Like I'm
Yeah.
updating all my Sitecore courses. Like,
Nice.
yeah. So, you know, trying to keep it up to date and fresh. Um, so what advice would you have for anyone who is interested in starting a tech agency?
Yeah, my number one advice would be uh, I'm not gonna say put a vision, because at the beginning you won't have that clear vision, but have kind of a direction more. And this is how we started ApplezTech. Was the first thing that I can do at the beginning was to rely on consultation. I have the experience, I can consult. So we started as a consultation agency. And then as we learned more, as we hired more people, we started to transition into, okay, based on the skill set I have, based on the capacity and the team, we're moving into more of like an experience, customer experience agency, where we can do consultation, we can do implementation at this time. And then over time, we transitioned into a position where, yeah, maybe we can start a product now. So it's not something that you will nail it at day one. It's a process at the end of the day, whether it's a tech company or not. But within the tech industry, um, we learn early on, being a programmer, is that we have to learn almost everything as a developers. You have to learn back end, the front end, and then deployments. And you think that when you start a tech company, you have to do all of that. But in reality, you should be in a position to decide on one thing, specialize in it,
Yeah.
see if that's where your passion, where you can create value, and then at, over time, you're going to eventually reach to that goal. I'm not saying like do not have a vision. My vision has been clear maybe uh, when I was thinking about my retirement.
That's so great.
Yeah.
I
So,
love
yeah.
that.
So I always say I can't think about anything because I believe I can do it, but I know that I'm not the only one within this formula. You have all of other things, all the other inputs, and for me, like recently, something I was never like even thinking about would be going through health issues. Right? For me, I was like, I always think that I'm trying to stay fit. I'm trying to balance work and a life. I know I had issues sleeping, for example, but I never thought that at a certain point I won't be able to listen to my body, what's telling me, and then I would go through some health related stuff, and that would just like hit me. Is like, yeah, again, we always think that we have to do all the things at the same time. The reality is no, let go as much as you can so you can focus on one thing in a direction and then grow from there. You're gonna have lots of opportunities. Uh, Things comes and go, people come and go, clients come and go. But as long as you are able to find a direction and pivot. During COVID, lots of people had to pivot, right?
Mhm.
To start something different from what they thought that is. Because again, that's a huge external factor that no one even think about. So if we are resilient, if we understand that change might change that's gonna come and might actually change you to change your entire direction. If you're flexible enough to think that, yeah, this is not a goal I'm letting go. I'm just changing direction where it's gonna bring me more value, bring people around me more value, and deliver what I think. Maybe I thought Sitecore was the thing that I'm doing, but no, maybe something bigger than that is what I'm doing. And this is actually how my thought process started. I used to think that I am only a Sitecore developer and I can't think about that because that was my comfort zone. That's where most of my experience is. But then, oh, okay, if I'm trying something new, it's coming to me easy. Oh, that was a surprise.
That's great. Yeah, I would absolutely say, like, a lot of companies struggle at first because they are trying to do too much.
Yeah.
And you really, instead of that, you should start small and just, your clients, your audience, whatever, will let you know what's working,
True.
as you start to
Oh,
make
loud
money.
and clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
loud and clear. Yeah. As a woman who leads in tech with a very, very technical skill set, have you ever had any experiences that were less than stellar?
Yeah, I think everyone in their life would come across situation where they are challenged in that sense. I was blessed actually to be surrounded by my family, my friends, and even the jobs that I work with, where they actually championed women. But especially in technology, and I met a lot of people who would just get surprised that I even know how to develop, or I might be able to engage in a technical conversation and hold that. And sometimes they would be even surprised that, yeah, you know, gaming and you know, hardware stuff and you know, networking, and you still can talk about, you know, beauty, health, and other stuff. And that's like, for me, that should be the norm. As much as we can normalize that idea of don't label me just because I am a woman or because I am going through a tech kind of path, it means my experience would be even harder than it's expected, or less champion than it's expected, or even more valid as expected. Because sometimes here I have some mixed kind of schools of thinking where they think because you're a woman, you're gonna be able to get everything. So they take away from all the hard work that you've been
Mhm.
doing, from all your experience, and say, yeah, you get that award, or you get that position, or you get that promotion just because you're a woman. I was like, no, it's not the truth. And you can't just generalize these things. And I've been challenged a lot when I um, been put in a situation where I have to prove myself I'm capable of doing or managing or even have the grit and resilience. Just because also at certain, I don't even know what to say it, but in certain mentalities, they would say because women always eager to prove themselves, then they are the right people to be put in this position because they're gonna work hard day and night just to justify why they have been put in that position.
Yeah.
You're also being put in a situation where, um, for me, it was because I left for studying. It's not left like I would work and study at the same time. But if I am thinking about studying, I can imagine the same thing if you're having a baby or you're starting a family and same things. It's like, okay, this as soon as you start to think in that direction, they start to look for your replacement. Because like
Yeah.
now, like what's wrong with the notion that we can do both or we can balance, or put me in that situation, let me fail and judge me on that, and instead of judge me that I'm gonna fail anyway without let me trying. And again, with sometimes being the only woman in the room and how hard it sometimes to even have a chance to speak. And at certain points, which is uncharacteristic for me, I would shout. It's like for someone to listen, it's that crazy. It's like they took over each other. They no one is listening to the other, and I'm trying to get a word out, and it's like, oh my god. But at the same time, I've been in a situation where whenever there's a hint that I'm gonna talk, everyone listens and they say talk because we trust that she has something valuable to add. So I've experienced definitely both things, but my advice would be um, for especially with the young girls who want to go through that. And I learned lots of that studying psychology, but I think that's something every one of us um, should be taught, even at school. Is um, vulnerability is not something bad, and I learned
Yeah.
a lot earlier when I used to listen to Brene Brown. I think it's 9 years ago. I've maybe listened to all her talks, read her books and everything. And it was a shock for me at the beginning. Being vulnerable does not mean you're weak. Being vulnerable, being very confident in yourself, where you have no issue to show your weakness in front of others and be able to build on that. So be vulnerable, still be empathic, because no one, if you lose this kind of stuff, you just like turn into a robot, and this is what we don't want to have. Don't be shy, show yourself, stand up, let yourself be seen, because we
Yeah.
tend to be extremely shy, or we think if we do that, we're cocky, or we think highly of ourselves while we're not like that. But and unfortunately, and sometimes in these industries, um, let yourself be known for that, and instead of just losing yourself, losing your identity, losing your passion, just because you're afraid that they're gonna say you're cocky or whatever. It's like, I am, so what?
I love that so much. Oh my gosh. I could talk to you about all this stuff all day. I'm really sad that we're coming to the end here. I just want to wrap up by saying, we have not achieved success because we're women. It is in spite of it. Yeah.
100%. Wow.
100%. Yeah. So tell us where people can connect with you.
Yeah, I'm almost available always on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, I'm always there. You can find me on Twitter or in my personal email, not personal, my company's email. So these are the main channels that can be reached out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I will have links to all of your accounts in the show notes or description. And if you want to follow us, please, or if you want to support us, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow gems. Let me know in the comments what other topics you would like me to cover, and follow Tiaras and Tech on social media. Thank you for watching or listening, and have a great day.